Ladies and gentlemen, we are in for another exciting week for Tesla stock. In fact, as we talked about in the last video, we don't have many catalysts for this week. Now, I will share with you the catalyst and data that we do have this week and what could be moving the markets here pretty soon. But let's face it, Congress was just funded for the next couple of months. Crisis is averted, with over 1 million government workers that were set to be furloughed, and Congress, call it the Senate, the House, President Joe Biden, all came together and, well, kept the government funded. This was kind of a black cloud weighing over markets that sounded a lot like what happened in 2018 when we had a 35-day government shutdown, when we had Jerome Powell that was more hawkish than expected on December 19th, 2018, and that ended up causing a 20% correction in markets. Well, now that we just had all of your economic data, really the big data, out of the way, there's one piece of big data we get this upcoming week, but it's not as big as PCE, CPI, PPI, personal spending, and the Fed meeting, okay? So we have all of this out the way. The risk catalysts are now gone. To some degree, the government being funded and not shutting down in and of itself is a pretty big positive at a time in which markets are fearful. Like any gauge you can look at to judge markets, whether it's the percent of stocks trading above their 50-day moving average at 33%. In other words, 67% of our markets are on a downturn. What about the CNN Fear and Greed Index that is sitting at 28? Solidly in fear territory, almost in extreme fear territory, or the AI Investor Sentiment Survey that is probably going to plummet coming this upcoming week, with only 40.7% of investors that were bullish before the Fed meeting on Wednesday, in which the S&P fell 3%. Like, all of your market sentiment barometers, including the VIX, which spiked to 28, now back down to 18, they're all reading super negative. So we don't have any more risk catalysts left. This tends to be seasonally the most bullish period for markets. I don't really see the reasoning why markets would continue to fall. Now, obviously, anything's possible, but this, after all, could set us up for a very strong year-end rally, and specifically for Tesla stock. Now, we have some news to go over here in this video, and I was honestly shocked to see this on the main Tesla X account. I don't know how much more clearly you could say this than how Tesla just did on their X account. They said a Robotaxi future is closer than you probably think. And I think they're literally speaking to investors here. I think they're saying to investors, we're really going to launch the Robotaxi faster than you think. We are expecting that some point in 2025 this will be launched, but it does look like some people are speculating that this could actually be a Q1 2025 launch. We did get news last week that Tesla was in talks with Austin, Texas to launch their Robotaxi operations. Now, let's be honest, these Robotaxi operations, they're going to be monitored by people behind monitor screens, the same way Waymo is. They're not just letting cars out go drive themselves with nobody monitoring them, okay? There is literally Waymo employees that watch Waymo rides behind screens, okay? That doesn't matter. And I've heard people get kind of lost with this aspect. It doesn't matter if there's someone watching the screens or not. It is Robotaxi, and that's all Wall Street is going to care about. Yeah, I think we are in for some good news coming pretty soon. It actually wouldn't even surprise me if this next upcoming earnings report, we get a more finalized start date for the Robotaxi network, but that is still about a month away or so. Next big catalyst we have for Tesla, unless we get some big news that comes out between now and then, is January 2nd. We are going to get Tesla's Q4 deliveries. We are expecting about 515,000 vehicles to be delivered. There's going to be some final estimates coming out really over the next 7 days or so, and those numbers could get pushed down a little bit We hope they do get pushed down so it's easier for Tesla to beat. I personally think Tesla's going to come in between 520 and 530,000, but that's just my opinion. And yeah, we will still get more data between now and January 2nd, like vehicle insurance registrations out of China. But so far, things look good. We can look at Google Trends data. If we look at worldwide Google Trends data, it's kind of exploding for Tesla. Let's just be honest. In the latest update that we just got, everything is exploding. I mean, the Cybertruck just shot up to 100. Like, I don't know why that's happening, but it looks like it's happening. Okay. But the Model Y, the world's best selling car product. Okay. I mean, from November 3rd through the 9th was at 41. Today it's at 54. Just from December 1st through the 7th, you were at 46. And again, now you're at 54. Things are really ramping up into year end. Now, I think one thing that really could serve to Tesla's benefit, that could even allow Tesla to come in with a very high number, like 550 plus thousand deliveries, is some people are nervous again about the removal of the $7,500 tax credit. Some people want to take advantage of that before that credit goes away. And I think that's partially why you did see Tesla actually raise prices on the Model S and the Model X, even though those vehicles technically do not qualify for the $7,500 tax credit because they are more expensive than the threshold for that full credit, at least. You're just seeing a lot of demand for Tesla right now. And again, the removal of the $7,500 tax credit, or the expected removal of that, could be boosting some near-term demand for Tesla. Even the Model 3 went from 39 from December 15th through the 21st. Today, it's at 46. That's a 7-point jump for the Model 3. That's big. The Model X went from 12 to 19, and the Model S went from 17 to 20. I mean, you really couldn't ask for better data here. And if you look at the United States, it's kind of the same thing here as well. Cybertruck did just move higher from 47 to 58. The Model Y went from 35 to 36. The Model 3 is staying at 27. The Model S is actually moving lower from 15 down to 13. The Model X went from 11 to 12. So overall, very good search trend data that we are seeing. And we obviously know numbers out of Europe look pretty well in line with how they normally are. And China numbers for Q4 look really good. So really bottom line here, nothing has changed with the bull thesis for Tesla. The only thing, in fact, that's changed is Tesla went from $488.54 per share down to $423 per share. Over the course of 3 days, you have reset some of the bulls, right? You've reset some expectations. You've reset relative strength indexes like the RSI. Tesla no longer looks like it's really overbought anymore. And Tesla's stock could go through quite a big rally, maybe even over this next week, and things are not going to look as stretchy as they did before. That's kind of my expectation. I mean, did the thesis of a soft landing change? No. Did earnings expectations for the broader markets change? No. Okay. We're seeing some pretty good data coming out. PCE was lower than expected on Friday. We actually, for the first time in a long time, seen the RSP do very well. This is the equal weight S&P. The Dow has been doing very poorly as well. You could probably see a broader market rally next week and even into January. I talked about this in the last video, but the January effect, okay, the January effect is, or has to do partly because of tax loss harvesting. If you tax loss harvest a stock, you sell it, you take that loss, and then you can buy it back in the new year. And yes, there's a 30-day waiting period. So a lot of people do this in like late November so they can start buying the stock back that they tax loss harvested in early January. Okay, so that's part of it. But normally when you start a new year, you're right after Christmas, people tend to generally be pretty optimistic. And as long as nothing is going severely wrong in markets, you do tend to historically move higher. In fact, between December 15th and December 31st, on average, the S&P is up almost 2%. Almost 2%, about 1.7% or so. Just in that 2-week period, it is the best 2-week period for markets historically in any given year. We really haven't seen that. We definitely have not seen that in the broader S&P. We have not seen that in the Dow. Obviously, Tesla did well for a while, but it's come down a bit, about 13, almost 14%. What are the odds that markets move higher in this upcoming week? Following the government being funded, I think there's very good odds of that. Now, also in the news, Tesla FSD supervised v13.2.2 is now starting to roll out to Tesla owners with AI 4 or Hardware 4. This release includes the holiday update with FSD v13. And we already have some videos coming out just a couple of hours ago from Hallmark's catalog using this latest version of FSD v13, and it looks outright impressive. Now, I think there is a huge lag between the improvements we see with FSD and Wall Street actually understanding this, okay? But at some point in 2025, you are going to see Tesla's ChatGPT moment, where FSD and Robotaxi is the biggest thing on Wall Street. It's going to be what everyone is talking about, okay? That's when Tesla will go hundreds of dollars higher, at least temporarily. You will see a short squeeze. You will see a gamma squeeze. You will see the stock go absolutely crazy. I don't know exactly when that's going to happen. I would love to know exactly when, because I'll put everything into some Tesla options and go crazy. But unfortunately, we don't know that. So the best we can do is buy the stock and hold it. And that's personally what I have been doing. But I do think in this upcoming week and in the better part of January, I think Tesla is going to move higher. Tesla, in fact, could be in the mid 500s pretty easily over the next 2 or 3 weeks here. Because why? Okay. The theory that I have has not changed. There is 77.5 million shares that are currently sold short. It's not a strong bear thesis on Tesla next year. I don't think a lot of people want to be short on Tesla next year. Even consider what we seen on Friday. Tesla was actually down over 3%. And you had 2.5 million shares on net that were covered. So short sellers actually got out of their short positions following the drop from 488 down to 423. Now, on Friday, we were hit with some false headlines about 700,000 vehicles being recalled. Typically, after those like fake headlines that drive the stock lower, it's almost always that has to do with recalls. You tend to see the stock bounce pretty shortly after that. It tends to be a very short-lived sell-off, and that is my expectation in this upcoming week. And if you are going to cover on your short position and take that loss in 2024 as kind of a weird tax loss harvest, then you're going to do that in this upcoming week because it's the last week of 2024. Okay. And I think that just makes the most sense. Like if I was a hedge fund and I had a pretty good year, but I had this short position in Tesla that did really bad, and I'm thinking about what's going to do well in 2025, Tesla's definitely on that list. It has to be on that list at this point, unless you're just, some kind of delusional fund manager, and hopefully there isn't too many of those. Then I would be covering on my short position in Tesla, no matter if I thought the stock was overvalued or whatnot. I would be taking that loss, writing that off against my gains, and letting my clients pay less in taxes. Just my personal opinion. Now, we also see some pretty interesting option activity for next week. I talked about this in the last video, but instead of just like one strike having the bulk of the option activity, there's a lot of it across the board, okay? Like every single strike has almost 10,000 plus for volume on Friday. 450 is a standout here. 450 call for this upcoming Friday. 61,000 for volume. Even the 470 call has 14,000 for volume. The 480 call has 24,000 for volume. And the $500 call has had 54,000 for volume with 36,000 for open interest. I mean, what we've seen recently is those strikes that have a lot of activity tend to be hit, okay? Strength tends to get strength, and the stock tends to move higher. Now, following the government being funded, there is definitely some pressure that is being taken off this market. And that typically leads stocks and markets to move higher. And Tesla just being so bullish like it has been, definitely could see Tesla going pretty dramatically higher in this upcoming week and next week. Now, keep in mind, this week is Christmas. If you have not done your Christmas shopping, then just know Christmas is on Wednesday. Markets will be open for regular trading on Monday. Markets will have a half day on Christmas Eve. They will close at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday. They will be closed on Wednesday, and you will be back for normal trading hours Thursday and Friday. So a lot of the activity is going to be on Monday. Tuesday could actually be pretty bullish as well, just considering it's a half day. But we do have some data that comes out on Tuesday. And let me give you a rundown here. You have durable goods orders month over month on Tuesday. That's really the big data. Consensus, though, is pretty negative already. Consensus is negative 0.4% month over month. And last month was only positive 0.2%. So that's pretty damn negative. Wouldn't surprise me if we get a better than expected number there. You have new home sales for November and new home sales month over month. And then Richmond Fed Manufacturing Index and Richmond Fed Services revenues that will also be coming out on Tuesday. So definitely some important data with durable goods orders. But again, I think most likely we come in good there. On Thursday, you have initial jobless claims. That's the big catalyst then. And then on Friday, you have goods trades balance, as well as the S&P Case-Shiller home price month over month and year over year. I should mention Monday because we do have CB Consumer Confidence and Chicago Fed National Activity Index. But I think everyone's going to be talking about crisis averted coming Monday. And Wall Street's going to be pretty bullish to start off this new week. And again, just to point out the obvious, it's impossible to know exactly what a stock is going to do until it does it. But there can be pretty good indications of what's going to happen next. And right now seems pretty easy. Tesla fell aggressively over the past 3 days. Nothing changed. Short sellers are in a bit of a problem heading into 2025. There is an opportunity to tax loss harvest to take some of those losses in 2024, which most hedge funds institutions had a pretty good year. So that makes sense from a portfolio, structure kind of basis. The only way that wouldn't make sense is if you were a fund and you were down a lot, then it really, I guess, wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't benefit you to cover on short positions, but that's broadly speaking not the case. Our risk catalysts are out of the way. The government was just funded. Crisis is averted for over 1 million government workers. That in and of itself is a big positive. This is seasonally the most bullish period of the year for the markets at a time in which the markets have been very negative. The RSP has been getting destroyed. It bounced back nicely on Friday. Equal weight S&P, that is the RSP. The Dow has been on the worst losing streak, a 10-day losing streak since 1974, if I recall the specific year there. And markets, broadly speaking, are very negative, right? The percent of stocks above their 50-day moving average, CNN's Fear and Greed Index, advanced decline lines, okay? The VIX, I like the setup that we have. I'm just going to say it like that. And while it's hard to know exactly what's going to happen, this upcoming week could be explosive for Tesla stock. And I think that makes the most sense to me. But again, don't YOLO your portfolio off of this information. I'm just sharing the news, my thoughts, and perspectives with you. I'm not afraid to sugarcoat things. It looks pretty good. Could it look better? Of course. Could it look worse? Oh yeah, could look a lot worse. So let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comment section. Thank you for supporting the channel and all of the work we put in to make everyone just more educated on Tesla stock and the opportunity that lies ahead of us for Tesla. I think next year is going to be a huge year for Tesla. But again, that's just my opinion, and I'm not a financial advisor, so contact one if you need any personalized financial advice, because this is not that video. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. Keywords. Don't listen to anything I say. Invest at your own risk. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great Sunday. Go Lions, and I will see you in the next one.